Sir,
No, no, he still comes, sir.
still
And
is to
we
come.
have a director NIT Warangal, Subudhi, and
Just
we
taken
have
over. Namaste.
Yeah, he has taken over. And then we have Professor Jaykumar here from NIT Warangal and Professor Sripati from NIT Surathkal. And a few more are there. They're having their lunch. We just had a extended morning session. So now the lunch time is a little cramped, and then yes, I know that 2 o'clock for Professor P.S. Murthy means exactly 2 o'clock.
No, it's okay, it's okay. I always say this, IST is Indian stretchable time.
Right.
It's very difficult to maintain.
I think, sir, we'll start.
Yeah, I think I'll.
Will be joining as we really keep moving forward.
No, Professor Rao.
Yeah.
If you want to wait for 5 minutes, we'll wait.
Okay,
I have no
done.
problem.
We'll wait for 5
We'll
minutes.
wait, in that case, we'll wait for another 5 more minutes.
Sure, sir, I'm with you. Yeah, my next meeting is only 3:30. So I'm with, no problem. Semester is over for you?
Just completed. And then.
Yeah, everybody is busy giving the grades now.
First years are going on, and under the 5 years, they have completed their session, and then they're all around the campus.
Yeah, I know. Last few days, every minute counts for them. How to extract the reminiscences.
So now, you have to come once to NIT Rourkela.
Sir, I will do, sir. I will do.
Definitely, please.
This June, July, sometime we'll plan.
And to sign an MOU, I'm again telling that NIT Rourkela is signing an MOU with IIT Hyderabad. And that Professor G.S. Murthy will declare. And in that program, what exactly is the opportunities that our students will be having also. So now, maybe on 12th or 13th,
Will there be some students today?
students, PhD students are maybe likely to come, and then yes,
can arrange another online meeting with the students alone.
Sure.
Third year students specifically.
Definitely.
I would love to have an online meeting with them.
Right. So now I will be coming to Hyderabad during 12th and 13th
Okay, good.
of May, so that we will formally sign the MOU. Please,
Sure, sir.
we'll sign the MOU, and then the MOU will be on roads. So now IIT Hyderabad and then NIT Rourkela will be in fact in trying to exchange these students, and then more so for our students, final year students, who really want to pursue their the final year. That details Professor Murthy will give.
Yeah. If you want, before we start the actual meeting, I can talk because some of the people, if they are interested.
Sure, sir. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So this is friends.
Professor B.S. Murthy, Director IIT Hyderabad, as our chief guest, who is joining us in the online mode. He would be presenting his keynote address titled Implications of NEP 2020 on UG Curriculum at NITs. He was busy today because of some pressing assignments, so he is still our chief guest, although he couldn't join in the inaugural session. So with these few words, sir, I am handing it over to you. Please, sir, you can start your talk.
Yeah. Okay. My mic got muted.
It again got muted.
It doesn't allow me to speak. This is what we say in Telugu, that even if God is willing, the pujari has to allow you. so, so that's so. Friends, good afternoon, everyone. So I thought I will share with you a few experiences that we have at IIT Hyderabad in the whole process of the NEP, which some of them may be interesting to you, not only at NIT Rourkela, but also other colleagues who are come from various other places to possibly think of. So the whole NEP talks about a lot of things, but one of the things I strongly believe is about freedom and flexibility to students. Okay, that is something which I think somehow all of us who are sitting in the front rows, when we all have done our undergraduation, you all know that we are largely straight-jacketed. You join as a mining engineer, Professor Umrao, or I joined as a metallurgical engineering. Okay, accepting the first year, second year onwards, we don't have a choice. We more or less do the same branch from the second year to the final year. Okay, almost every course is related to our branch. So I somehow strongly believe that education should be student-centric. Okay, we should be able to give freedom and flexibility to the students to a large extent so that they explore a lot of things. So first thing that we did 3 years back, as soon as I took over, is to revise our whole curriculum and ensure in the revision that we have about 10% of the courses for basic sciences, 10% for basic engineering, about 10% for what we call it as free electives, and another 10% for what we call it as liberal arts and creative arts. We have almost all our students, every one of our undergraduate students has to do 10% of liberal arts and creative arts. Basically courses such as music, dance, painting. We bring teachers from various places and teach them. And thanks to another plus point that IIT Hyderabad has, what we call it as fractal academics. IIT Hyderabad possibly is the only IIT which has fractal academics. We can have a 0.5 credit course or 1.52, 2.53. Everything is possible. In fact, our whole semester is broken into 6 segments. The reason of 6 segments is typically most of the IITs or NITs also have a 3 credit courses which start in the beginning of the semester and at the end of the semester. Here we can have a large number of our courses are half a credit to 1 credit kind of courses. The reason we do that, particularly in the first year or so, we ask the students to explore a lot of things. Okay, take a number of 1 credit courses and find out which one you are liking it. And that particular area, you go deep, the so-called T type of learning that people talk about. And when you go deep, you take 2 credit, 3 credit courses in those chosen areas. And this is somehow working out very well. A lot of students enjoy these 1 credit courses. This has also another plus point that whenever a visitor, some visitor is coming to IIT Hyderabad, for example, okay, even for 1 week, we can offer a 1 credit course very easily. We have even Sir Abdul Kalam taught a half a credit course at IIT Hyderabad. Our BOG chairman teaches a 1 credit course at IIT Hyderabad. Okay, I don't think most of the IITs BOG chairman teach courses. So here it happens. And every Saturday he comes and then teaches about 1.5 hours or so. And 1 credit course typically means about 14 hours of teaching. and this 14 hours of teaching. For example, we have dancers who come to IIT Hyderabad on a Saturday morning 3 hours, Saturday afternoon 3 hours, Sunday morning 3 hours, Sunday afternoon 3 hours. So one full course is completed, 1 credit course. Students love them. We have painters coming, staying with us for 1 week and teaching Madhubani painting. Okay, and 200, 300 students register for such kind of courses. So this is something which we have been able to inculcate and ensure the students do a lot of what is called right brain activity along with the left brain activity, which anyway we keep doing it in an engineering. So this is something which we strongly feel is important so that you develop as an overall personality. Okay, we have courses on personality, courses on psychology, philosophy, and everything. So this is something, this is helping our students a lot. Okay, so this is one thing that we thought there should be a lot of freedom. Okay, free electives and 10% of free electives you pick up from anywhere and do it. The next thing that we also felt is that there should be programs which give them a lot of freedom. For example, we have a BTech program called BTech in Engineering Sciences. I do not think any IIT has experimented this so far. Okay, where a student for first 2 years can pick up any courses of their choice. A few mechanical courses, a few electrical courses, a few computer science courses, and so on. At the end of 2 years, we ask them, are you interested to continue like this for 2 more years? Or do you want to specialize in something? If you want to specialize in, let's say, mechanical or electrical and so on, you get a degree which says BTech in Engineering Sciences with specialization in mechanical engineering. Or at the end of 4 years, they can keep on doing like this and you simply get a BTech in Engineering Sciences. You may ask, where will they get job? I would say, let them choose where they want to work. Okay, I think it is important we leave this choice to the students. And there are quite a number of brilliant students who want to pick up a few things of their choice and specialize in what they want to specialize slowly and go in that direction. So this is something I can tell you we started in 2016. It's one of the most sought after programs at IIT Hyderabad. The opening and closing ranks of JEE for this program are reasonably very high, come very close to, let's say, electrical engineering or so. Okay, so this is another thing we strongly felt that it is important to do it, and that has been very successful. We also thought it is important that we go out and ensure that our teaching is available to everybody else. You all know, once upon a time, our teaching was always limited to our classroom. Thanks to NPTEL, suddenly, okay, we started teaching NPTEL courses. Now they are all available on the YouTube. Anybody can see them. And we are able to ensure that our teaching is going beyond the classroom. But NPTEL is mostly a passive kind of learning. Okay, you don't have a live interaction with the faculty. Here, now from this August onwards, we are converted most of our classrooms into what is called hybrid classrooms. And we are opening all our courses from August to anybody in the world. So we are asking all the faculty, are you interested to open up your course? And all those courses where faculty said yes, we put a complete list saying that this is the course, these are the number of credits, this is the teacher who is going to teach the course, and this is the timetable. As long as the timetable suits you, irrespective of which part of the globe you are, you can register. You can be a student, you can be a teacher of a college, you can be a working professional. I go to the extent to say you can even be a homemaker. So we say that because we are not giving a degree, JEE, GATE, all these things do not come into picture. Okay, so we are able to say, just give a certificate at the end of the course. Say, yes, you have done this course from IIT Hyderabad with these many credits with this grade. And I feel that is one way. India was once upon a time a Vishwaguru. All of us know about Takshashila and Nalanda, where people from various countries used to come. And I think it's time that we once again start becoming a Vishwaguru and become a knowledge provider to the whole world. And I strongly feel that this is going to be a hot cake very soon, and a lot of people will get benefited. We also felt that another very important thing that for us to do is going close to the industry. Many a times we keep talking about there is a gap between academia and industry, and each side blames the other side. We say that how do we close this gap? So first thing that we did while we started this revising our whole curriculum is to remove in one particular semester all the core courses and put only electives. We did this in the 6th semester, so that if there are only electives, the student does not miss anything if the student can go for a semester-long internship. So January to July, IIT Hyderabad students can go to anywhere they want and spend time in an industry or even in an academic institution and gain some experience. Many a times we all know that our students typically go for summer internships. These 2 months or 6 weeks of internship rarely gives them a lot of knowledge. Neither the industry gets significantly benefited. So we thought that this is a good way, and we give 6 credits for that. Most of the time in our institutions, the summer internship does not carry any credits. Okay, here we say you get 6 credits, you go, come back, submit a report, a viva is conducted, a grade is given. So that means in a semester of around 15 credits, you are already getting 6 credits. The remaining 9 credits you distribute in the other semesters and complete it. Okay, this way you are able to get a chance to spend with an industry for almost 1 semester. And this is really becoming very popular. And in fact, in the last 2 years, as I start 2020, we introduced. But this year, when we say the number of companies that have come to take this semester-long interns is amazing. Almost 250 students out of 400 students are taking this semester-long internship. So this is something which not only benefits the industry, because brilliant students are able to spend 6 months time and they can solve a problem. And you can imagine if an industry starts seeing that some of their problems are being solved, they will be standing behind you in a queue. So this is one way we thought we can get connected to the industry. Second thing that we did was we started an MTech course, 1 credit course called Industry Lectures. It's a mandatory course to all the MTechs, and BTechs also can attend. And in that we ask 1 credit being 14 hours of teaching. We ask 14 different industries in every branch of engineering. Please understand. Okay, every branch of engineering will call those industries which are connected with that branch, and 14 different industries talk about for 1 hour what is exciting in their company. At the end of it, we ask them, do you have any problems that our MTech students can do in 1 year? Now we started getting this list of problem statements, and we started giving this to our students. Now I can confidently say 50% of our MTech students are working on their MTech projects which are industry defined problems. For 1 full year, they can go to an industry and work. The only condition that we put to the industry is that you should not say everything is confidential. You should be able to allow the students to submit a thesis, because ultimately there are 24 credits for the project and 24 credits for the theory. And so that 24 credits the student has to earn. And that way we have been able to convince quite a number of industries. And now these industries are taking these students. It's like a year-long internship for the industry. As far as the student and us are concerned, it is like an MTech project. And again, we ensure that whatever is confidentiality, that is kept aside, and whatever can be put into the thesis, it can be put. So this is something which again is helping us to go close to the industry. Then we went 1 more step further. We said, let's reach out to industry and see whatever their aspirations are in upskilling. Let us try to fulfill them. We started almost about 10 online MTech programs. Okay, right now IIT Hyderabad has almost 10 online MTech programs, variety of them, EV technology, okay, industrial metallurgy, and so on and so forth. Okay, and we tell them that we teach you in the evening hours. You come to IIT Hyderabad only on the day of convocation. That's it. Okay, and we tell them that 2-year MTech program, I give you 4 years time to do it at your leisure. 1 semester you don't want to take any course, don't take any course. These are the total number of credits, 24 credits of theory and 24 credits of project. You complete it in 4 years time. If you complete it in 2 years, I give you a degree in 2 years. Whenever you complete it, we give you a degree. And we also went to the extent to say some people started approaching us saying, sir, in our industry, I do not have enough facilities to do this 24 credits of project. And finally, if I get a D grade or so, my whole CGPA will get affected. We said, if that is the case, you complete 24 credits of theory and we give you an exit option of getting what is called executive MTech, which is like a half of your regular MTech. Even this, quite a number of students from industry, quite a number of working professionals are getting it. So we call this as an exit option. So that way we are able to see that a lot of industries, the number of applications that we get is amazing. Even just for industrial metallurgy, we get about 500 applications. Okay, so that is the kind of thing that we have been able to create. Quite a number of industries are getting closer to us. The next thing that we also did is, if somebody wants to do a PhD from an industry, most of our IITs have what is called residential requirement. That means one semester you have to come and stay in the IIT and do the coursework. We said we have learned enough from the COVID that we can handle it online, so you don't need to come here. So we have removed this particular what is called the residential requirement, and as a result, quite a number of industries are now registering for PhDs with us. Suddenly in the last 2 years, I see a large number of applications coming from industry for a PhD program. So this way, I have been able to see there is a very strong connect being established between our IIT and IIT Hyderabad and the industry. And that is something I think most of us, these are all not really rocket science, great things. Everybody can do these things. Okay, so I strongly believe we have so much of freedom in all IITs. And I say that if the freedom is not utilized, there is no point in giving such a freedom. So we should utilize our freedom, and that is existing already in our Senate. As long as Senate can approve, we can bring any. We have brought in so many interdisciplinary programs. We in fact started getting connected to a number of even hospitals and started programs. We have a program with a hospital in Hyderabad called AIG, Asian Institute of Gastroenterology. We call this program as MTech in Medical Device Innovation, where the student spends 4 months in a hospital. At the end of the 4 months, he or she identifies one problem that the patient or doctor is facing. At the end of 2 years, the student has a prototype in hand. It's completely a prototype-driven program. We have even tied up with the LV Prasad Eye Hospital, and we have an MTech in ophthalmic engineering, where the LV Prasad doctors teach the anatomy of the eye. We teach optics, lasers, and technology for eye care. And this way, we think that we are able to create, technologies for the future eye care health industry. And similarly, with another very old, cancer hospital at IIT at Hyderabad called Basavatarakam, we have now an MSc program called MSc in Medical Physics, which is AERB approved, where the student spends 1 full year in the cancer hospital and comes out as a radiation expert. These are all engineers, by the way, friends. Okay, so this is another lot of things that one can do. We have something called CMET, Center for Materials for Electronic Technologies in Hyderabad. We have an MTech program on e-waste management, where they have a pilot plant where metals can be recovered from e-waste, electronic waste. And a lot of students are getting interested in this. I strongly believe that at least the MTech level, we should have programs which are industry oriented. Okay. And there is no point in simply having BTech in chemical engineering, MTech in chemical engineering. This is not the way out in future. Or BTech in metallurgy, MTech in metallurgy. I have nothing against chemical or metallurgy. Please, I am a metallurgist myself. Please understand. It is important that we open up our eyes and start looking at the PG level at least, what does the industry wants. And the industry is, thanks to Atmanirbhar, industry wants to do a lot of research. They need PG people of the required background, and we need to create people of that particular backgrounds. For example, we have started even a BTech program called Industrial Chemistry, for your information. Again, coming back to chemical engineers. Chemical engineers are very strong engineers, no doubt about it, but their chemistry knowledge may not be very strong. So there are quite a number of industries, petrochemical, textile, agriculture, and so many such industries which need engineers with a strong chemistry background. They don't want MSc chemistry people. So we decided that this is the time that we start. We even started the first interdisciplinary BTech program in the whole country, I would say, which is called BTech in computational engineering. This BTech in computational engineering is not computer science. We don't teach Java, C++. We teach them solid foundation of numerical methods, and on top of it, which teach them solid mechanics, fluid mechanics, multi-scale modeling, materials modeling, biomodeling, and so on. So that you are creating engineers, computational engineers for a manufacturing industry rather than a software industry. Which is again a need of the hour. A lot of industries want to go more and more automatic, okay, autonomous, and they want engineers who can do this. Who you are creating a CFD experts, you are creating a FEM experts and things like that. Okay, so this is another. Now, knowing that India is going in a big way into semiconductor industry, India has started already India Semiconductor Mission. We started a BTech program on IC design and technology. And this particular curriculum, we have been able to give it to AICTE, and AICTE has adopted it now, and they have already started in 8 colleges this particular BTech program. We have even created a curriculum for a diploma in IC design. Okay, again, one polytechnic has already started. The plan is in the next 5 years, by the time all our fab facilities are going to come in the country, we should have a few thousand engineers who have capability of handling. Because so far we have only a BTech in EE, BTech in ECE, BTech in EEE, nothing else. So it's time that we start moving in a direction where country wants to move. So these are all, I think, various ways by which we thought that we can contribute to the correct country, we can contribute to the Atmanirbhar, and finally making the India a global leader. The last point that I also want to say is it is important that we create engineers who create jobs rather than who seek jobs. I'm sure in 10 years down the line, okay, it is important that companies look for people who can create things. In India also, if Atmanirbhar has to really happen, we should have engineers who can create jobs. That means supporting a lot of innovation, supporting startups. We have now a dean in place, Dean of Innovation, Translation, and Startups. Okay, we have created a technology translation cell. Okay, and we have even created what is called Faculty Handholding Committee, which handholds faculty who want to develop technologies, who have already a TRL level 1 kind of a technology, how to take it to TRL level 6 or 7. So we have created all that. And at for the students, we started something called Build projects. We call them as Build Bold and Unique Ideas Leading to Development. Every year, twice a year, we call for proposals from students and identify the good ideas and give them a minimum of 1 lakh to begin with, and a mentorship. We have now created a building which we call it as TIP, Technology Innovation Park, which has 1.5 lakh square foot area. And we also tell the students, if your coursework is becoming a difficulty for you to pursue this innovative idea of yours, we will give you a semester break with 6 credits. A first semester BTech student can take a semester break at IIT Hyderabad. First semester BTech. For doing that, what did we do? We removed branch change option for our students. You join a branch, you stay in that branch. Okay? This is no more there at IIT Hyderabad now. Because I have been seeing this, for 30 years now. Okay, started my life in Kharagpur in 1992. Okay, particularly my own branch students. Okay, they always think if I have done my JEE slightly better, I will not be sitting in this class. So those students, for the first 1 full year, they keep on working hard. They struggled up to +2 in their coaching factories, and suddenly come here. The curriculum is different. The way of teaching is different, and they have to adjust to the new way of teaching. But at the same time, they want to change their branch, work hard to get a 9.5 CGPA or so. And those who do not get that, they get depressed. And from that day onwards, for the remaining 3 years, they remain more or less depressed. Okay? We say that once you do this, that depression is gone. You don't need to really aspire for a 9 CGPA in the first semester itself. You go at your pace, whatever is the pace that you want to go, and pursue those which you think are your dreams from the first semester itself. So we saw that there is a lot of positivity coming up because of this. The stress on the students has also been kind of removed because of this. We tell them, if you don't want to join IIT Hyderabad, don't join. It's up to you. Choose. But if you join, please pursue. There is, we always say, every organ in our body is equally important. Professor Umrao knows mining is equally important to computer science. Okay, and this is how we felt we can do that, and that way we are able to give a semester break in the first semester to the students. And we say that, okay, you are losing some courses. I'm giving you 6 credits anyway. Okay. And the remaining credits you distribute in the other semesters. Whatever core courses are there in the first semester, do it in the second semester, take extra courses. Most of these students are brilliant enough to take an extra course and pursue it and finish it out. There is no problem. So these are certain things which we have started implementing, and we are thoroughly enjoying this. And a lot of one plus point that we always see at IIT Hyderabad is we have 300 faculty with an average age of 38. Okay. We have 250 faculty who are below 45. That's the beauty of IIT Hyderabad. Okay. So I keep telling them that if you have never failed in life, you have never learned anything in life. Okay. There is no problem in failing. But if in the fear of failing, if you don't, introspect and bring out new ideas, it's a sin. So I feel let's utilize the freedom that the government has given to all the IITs and try to see what best we can do to ensure that our students pursue what they really like. Because at the age of 12th grade, they don't know what engineering is what. Just because parents force them to come in, they come in. And now, as Rourkela is also talking about, we have already started multi-exit. Okay. So we now got it approved in our Senate that if a student finishes 50% of the credits, they can get a diploma and go. And if the student finishes 75% of the credits, we are still debating on that, whether it should be a BSc or something else. But in a 6 months time, we will also have that also ready. Okay, I've already seen the document that Professor Bhubaneswar has sent me, where you are also trying to implement some of these things. All the best to you. Wonderful ideas. And I'm sure these are the directions in which we should move. We should allow, because I feel this, that in years to come, what companies will look at is what the skill you have got, not the degree that you have got. Degrees are not going to matter anymore. The skills are going to. If a student says, in the last 2 years, I have picked up these courses of my choice, okay, and as long as you give them freedom to pick up those kind of courses, and I am now confident enough to pursue what my dreams are. I don't want to waste 2 more years of my life here. Can you please allow me to go? We should be able to allow them to go. So I think it's time that we introspect. It's time, as people say, change is the only permanent thing in the world. Let's change, okay, and bring in all the necessary changes to make sure that students enjoy. In fact, there is a next step that I'm going to also very soon will possibly think of. You go abroad, go for an MS, okay? You can complete MS in 1 year or 2 years or 2.5 years. Okay, they only tell you these are the total number of credits. Recently, one of the students came to me and said, "Sir, IIT Hyderabad asked me to do 130 credits. I have already done 190 credits. Why are you asking me to stay longer here?" We should be able to send them off. Okay, we have made our degrees year-based. BTech means 4 years. BSc means 3 years. When do we come out of this? It's important that we should, if a student is good, he will think that, oh, these 5 courses in a semester is peanuts for me. Okay, I'm good enough to take 3 or 4 extra courses and finish. This student has exactly done that. Every semester he took more courses. He has 8.9 CGPA. So please, let's start thinking of how we should enable all these things. Bring in as much flexibility as possible without losing the basic, I would say, the strength of NITs and IITs, which is very strong education. Okay, this is one thing that I would like to. And I would also like to see one day when we will come out of all the placement cells at IITs. I hope one day we will do that. Because so I'm sorry if I look too revolutionary, because every December you start seeing, oh, IIT Bombay 2 crores, IIT Madras 1 crore, all these comparisons. Our job is to teach them. When I remember when my son, I admitted him in ISR Mohali, the director was addressing all the parents. He said, please don't ask me what is the pay package your children are going to get at the end of their study here. We don't have a placement cell here. I want all the placement cells to be converted into counseling cells. We should be able to counsel them and tell them, these are all the opportunities that you have. Go and grab them. It is not our duty to ensure that your student is placed well and then start looking at what is the placement percentage. Even the NIRF asks all these things, unfortunately. Hopefully one day they will also come out of this. Okay. Thank you very much. And nice interacting with all of you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, I think we would take it up for question and answers. Before that, I just would like to compliment on behalf of all my faculty members that just after lunch, we had a very packed, energy-packed lecture by Professor B.S. Murthy. More than the energy with which he spoke all the avenues and opportunities and where all and how all. The one common thing which I really find is that he was my colleague and he was my neighbor at IIT Kharagpur. So the only thing is that we also think almost alike.
Whatever I really presented, more or less, I think 80% matching is there. But then
Professor Murthy is even more aggressive in stating that whenever you complete your credits, right, you are ready for taking the degree. And then thank you, Professor B.S. Murthy. And then once again, on behalf of, you didn't really speak anything about the MOU which we wanted to, this 12th we are going to sign. Okay, please say that this 12th of May we are going to sign. And then what are the opportunities that are going to be there for all the final year BTech students who want to really pursue the final year, 2 semesters at IIT Hyderabad. And what Professor Murthy did not speak about is that those students who go to Hyderabad, what about their hostels? And
yeah,
what
we
about
take care. See, I completely tell if there are students sitting here, I can tell you, you don't need to pay anything to IIT as far as tuition fee is concerned. You pay only to your NIT. Okay, we don't ask you a single rupee for teaching you for two semesters. We only ask you to pay for your food and your hostel. That's it. And we'll take care of your hostels accommodation.
Okay. So now this is a lovely opportunity that we are going to have from the time when we sign the MOU. Any questions from the floor?
And I would also love to see faculty also coming. You know, we should have more and more of faculty exchanges. Summers, you all have 2 months of time. It's important that, for example, I tell you, we want to do this more and more. You know, all of you must have heard of iSTEM. Okay, Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India has opened this iSTEM portal where any college, any education institution can put up whatever equipment that they have on the portal so that anybody in the country can use it. IIT Hyderabad has put 480 equipment on the iSTEM portal. 480. There is no other IIT which has put so many equipment of it. So you can use every one of our facility. You can book a slot, come and use it. And you can also possibly come once you come and establish a 1 month contact with one professor. That's it. Next time onwards, you can just send your students. They can come and get something done. So every facility that we have here, I strongly believe it belongs to the country, and the country should use it. Okay. Some of the facilities that we have at IIT Hyderabad, I can vouch for it and say, having spent two older IITs, neither IIT Kharagpur has them nor IIT Madras has them. Okay, and that kind of facilities are there at IIT Hyderabad, and welcome and start using them. Okay.
All open for all of you.
Yeah, the floor is open for question and answers. You could raise your hand, I'll come to you. If you want to ask Professor Murthy anything, you could just raise your hand. Yeah, I think we have here. Madam, please.
Yes, madam, I cannot. I can see you, madam. Go ahead, madam.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I wanted a small clarification. As you have proposed a course curricula for UG, so we have kept the engineering fundamentals let's say we have 3 courses in engineering fundamentals. So we are saying that it will be compulsory for all students
Correct.
at all 14 branches.
Correct.
So is there any scope if you can select like electrical science cluster, chemical science cluster, related engineering fundamentals, if we can introduce from the very beginning, first year, will
Sure,
it
madam.
not be fruitful?
Exactly. This is exactly what I was telling. We have 16 branches of engineering in BTech. Okay. Every student of all the 16 branches have to do 10% of basic engineering, something like applied mechanics or something like that, courses like that. They have to do, and that 10% basically means 13 credits because we have 130 credits of BTech. And this is compulsory so for every course for us, not only course name and course number, we have course type also is specified. Is it a BS, basic sciences? Is it a BE, basic engineering? Is it a LA/CA kind of course, liberal arts, creative arts? Or is it a free elective? So at the end of it, we try to see what is the total number of each of the basket that you have done. If you have not completed each of the basket completely, okay, you will not get the degree. So this is by that way we are making the students ensure that they do all this. We also have what is called double major possible. A student can get a double degree at IIT Hyderabad, okay, which means that you have to do 24 credits extra. For example, a student can join as a mechanical engineering BTech, and at the end of the BTech, the student can get a certificate which says you are BTech in mechanical engineering and double major in electrical engineering. Only thing is how a student can get a double major in electrical engineering. Electrical engineering faculty decide if you can do these courses, 24 credits of those courses, then we allow you to get a double major in electrical. So every department has identified certain core courses and certain electives which a student has to do to get a double major in their branch. So this is also allowed.
Okay. So right now we are having branch change in first year. That is the major hindrance for us. We are forced to make.
We have removed it, madam. It's a bold decision for us. It is a bold decision. Everybody in the Senate started asking this question whether tomorrow, next semester, next year, whether students will join or not. I said, let us take the decision and think of it later. And I can tell you, nowhere, any one of the branches, the JEE opening and closing ranks have changed much, excepting 10 or 20 ranks here and there. Okay, it's important to take bold. I mean, we have started a Department of Heritage Science and Technology for your information. We teach 5 courses in Sanskrit at IIT Hyderabad. Okay, and we have tied up with the Central Sanskrit University in Delhi. One faculty from there comes and stays with us for 1 full year and teaches Sanskrit here at their payroll. Okay, we only provide them accommodation here. So these are all possible. Okay. So we offer an MTech in Heritage Science and Technology at IIT Hyderabad. Okay, so a lot of things are possible. Okay, you have to only convince your Senate.
You have to be flexible, sir. That way.
Yeah, Senate has to be convinced.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, anybody else? You please raise your hand.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sir, I am Professor L.K. Mishra from NIT Allahabad, Prayagraj, sir.
Yes, sir. Bolo, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. I have taken a lot of advice from your takeaway of this presentation, and we have already implemented NEP 2020 from this academic year. As you have rightly said, sir, because we have to give flexibility as well as openness to the students. So a lot of flexibility has been provided, but we are slightly concerned about the multi-exit and multi-entry system, because NIT system is in between the best and the
We lost you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Now we can hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry, there was interruption. If you're just concerned about multi-exit, multi-entry may not be a problem, but multi-exit will be a problem, because as you rightly said, that although we should not concern for the employability, but as on date, the employability is one of the major factor for institution like ours. So
Correct.
I think
So
can
we
it should
we
be not
only
be-
tell, yes sir. The
Yeah.
only thing that we say is multi-exit. Only if the student asks for it, we give the exit.
Exactly.
It's an exit
Exactly.
only.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
force anybody to leave.
yeah.
Only if the
And sir,
student asks. See, one more thing that I see, sir. Okay, I mean, I can tell you very honestly, there are quite a number of students at the end of 4 years. They don't complete all the credits in an IIT system. At IIT Madras, I have met one student in 2014 who has been a student from 2001. 13 years, please remember. And he has not
Yeah.
completed. Because
Yeah.
even if you have one last course left out, okay, IIT does not give you a degree.
Yeah.
Here, this multi-exit can be a boon for some of them. They have completed 4 years, still some courses are left out. They may ask, sir, I have learned enough. With this, I may be able to get some job. I don't want to wait for 1 more year or 2 more years to complete all this. This can be a
In
boon
fact,
for them also. So
sir,
we
I think
always say on their request only we do this.
Sir, this is I think the summary of this the statement that you have communicated is that without compromising with the quality of the program that you're delivering, we must ensure the exit system. I think that is what I think the takeaway which we can take it. So
We
very
also
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
When
much,
I-
sir,
when
for
I
your
say
very kind deliberations.
Thank you. When we say 50% of the credits to be completed to get a diploma, as I told you, we have 5 verticals. Okay. He may say that I have 50% completed in all the total verticals, but in the departmental 60% of the credits, 60% of the credits means 72 credits, 130 multiplied by 0.6. Okay. Out of the 72, if the student has not completed, okay, 50%, we don't give them a diploma in mechanical engineering. We give them diploma in engineering sciences because he has total 50% completed overall, but not in the department. So in the department, if you complete 50% only, you will get departmental diploma. Okay, this also our Senate has been very, very clear.
And
okay,
so last submission
and
is
that
with
also
that.
only after the student asks for it.
Yeah. So last point, can we have the collaborative meeting of all our dean academics and other people who are involved in this process?
Yes, sir. Why not? In fact, we can plan for one Dean Academics online meeting. No issue, sir. No issue. Only the thing is, the multi-entry, I am finding it difficult. Yeah. I wanted to ensure somehow I have put it into my Senate. Still, Senate is deliberating more and more. Can we bring BSc people and diploma people? For your information, I do not know how many of you know. I am a guy who started my career from a polytechnic. Okay, I got a diploma in Vijayawada Polytechnic. Then there was a college called REC Nagpur, which gave me an opportunity to join into the second year BTech. I still today feel, okay, when I look back, if they have not given me an entry, I don't know where I would have been. Okay, so I really feel I owe a lot to them. Okay, and there may be a number of such people available. Thanks to now, a lot of states have something equivalent to ESET kind of an exam. In Andhra, we know it is there, and with that, people are able to join in the second year thing in NITs and other colleges. But at that time, when I did 83, there were no colleges like that. Okay, and so I was thinking, can we not have IITs also taking some of these who may be very good and may be able to cope up with IIT system? If they don't cope up, they anyway get dropped out. Okay, so but the only question is what entrance they should write to enter into IIT is the only question. Okay, all the Senate
Thank you so
members.
much, sir. So very kind of you, and I'm really happy to be instructed by you. Thank you so much, and thank you to the NIT Rourkela for giving this opportunity to interact.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any more?
Yeah, any more questions? Yeah, I don't think there is any more. I would like to thank Professor Murthy, and one note here I would like to tell you is in the first 3 rows, you could see all the faculty writing down your notes. So whatever you have told, all the deliberations have come here, and it will go to our Senate at NIT Rourkela. So with these few words, I request Director Sir to felicitate Professor Murthy.
Virtually felicitating.
Yeah, virtually felicitating.
You can send me. I will possibly get it from there. You throw it into the computer.
Yeah, when I'm coming on 13th, 12th and 13th there to IIT
Sure,
Hyderabad,
sure.
right? I will
Sure,
just.
sure. Thank
So
you, sir.
now
Thank
this
you.
is a shawl, and this is the light.
Thank you,
And
sir. Thank you very much.
we are calling it as a Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
motto with
Absolutely.
which the new curriculum will be shedding light to the
Yes.
world with the new curriculum. So this is all small memento from our side to you, which will be handed over to you in person at IIT Hyderabad. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
sir.
for your
Thank
time.
you, sir.
Once again, thank you for sharing your ideas. It's
Thank you. I think NEP is a great revolution. It's important that we all, try to be a part of this revolution.
It's like I would say that it's a loaded gun. Those who use, they know the use of the gun. They don't use, right? It will be a decorative piece.
Yeah,
So now
that's
is
correct. That's correct.
absolutely like that. So now you use it, you know the power of that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
a lot.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next session is by Professor Sripati Acharya from NIT Rourkela. Let me lower it down. So it will be an in-person session.
Very good faculty member who joined the computer center and then gave up his faculty position. That was a big mistake. Okay. That is on. Yes. Hello. Hello.
On actually from the online,
Huh.
that was fully online.
Okay.
This is in person. So
Okay.
we need to switch on, switch off something.
Okay. Fine.
Sir, this is front.
Huh.
This goes front. This one goes back.
Yes.
You want to focus anything, then the red one comes.
Okay. Wait a minute. This is front. Is this?
Front is this. I think your mic is working.
So, good afternoon to all distinguished persons who have gathered here. So, it's my great pleasure and privilege to thank Professor Bhubaneswar Rao, who was our director. He has, of course, he's now your director, but he was our director before he, became your director. So, I thank Professor Bhubaneswar Rao, Professor Patel, Professor Tripathi, Professor Jaykumar, and all other distinguished professors who are here. And this is a great opportunity that has been given to me. And Professor Patel actually asked me to give some inputs on the implementation of NEP as it has been done here. But then I thought that I would also use this opportunity to basically, share my thoughts regarding the education process. What is it that we are seeing today? How is it that this process is going to be influenced by NEP, and then move on to the specific questions, that is my opinion, or not more than my opinion. I would say that probably This is the opinion of faculty members at NIT Rourkela, because we have also deliberated on certain issues. So, some of those points of view also I shall share with you. So, this is yes. So, I would start by making some observations on education. I think all of us are very clear. Education is a great asset in the modern connected globalized world. Physical barriers are slowly vanishing, and of course, yes, education should be a unique enabler of opportunities. It should essentially result in improved human integration and understanding. It should foster the creation of a humane, law-abiding, conflict-resolving society focused on sustainable living. And in all of this, I think we all realize that educational institutions have a very important role to play. They must essentially act as enablers of this change. It's a great responsibility. Unfortunately, in our country, I have seen that educational institutions, educators do not always get the respect that they deserve. This is, very much different from, what I have seen in other countries. In fact, I remember being in Thailand for a brief period in the Asian Institute of Technology, and I can still remember the kind of respect that we got, not just in the institution, but even when we interacted with the Thai people outside the institution. This somehow seems to be missing it, or maybe it is my perception that educators are not really getting the respect that they deserve, but maybe that will change, and we also ought to do our best to see that we get the respect that we deserve. Maybe there are certain things that are lacking from our end that we need to look up, and that we need to do better. So, another observation that I make at this point is that somehow becoming a teacher is not an aspirational job. Do we see our most talented students coming back to our institutions as teachers? We don't see this happening. At NIT Rourkela, we have any number of of our old alumni who are teaching in the best institutions in US and Europe, but hardly any one of them desires to come back and teach in the NIT system. Why is it that we are losing most of our talented students who somehow do not wish to contribute to the academic profession? What is wrong? I think we need to look at this and then see what can be done about it. And I felt that this is a sad development for our societies and our country. Lot of our best students do not wish to live here, they wish to go out, they are trying to seek opportunities elsewhere, and maybe we need to basically think hard about this and see what can be done. Going forward, I think this is something that is universally very true. A sound education is one of the best investments that we can make in our lives. I think this was told to me by one of the professors of NIT Allahabad also, that education is one of the best investments, and of course it is very true. Its importance obviously cannot be overestimated. We see a lot of talented people, skilled people struggling because of lack of formal education. Unfortunately, in our country, jobs are very strongly tied to educational qualifications. I really welcome Professor Murthy, the director of IIT Hyderabad, saying that this needs to be sort of decoupled, and we need to work towards doing it in a proper manner. But so far, jobs are strongly tied to educational qualifications, and as educators, we must empower our students to acquire a suitable education background. Our policy NEP 2020, a revolutionary policy, is aimed at making education flexible to meet diverse requirements, that are going to arise over the next few years. Lot of changes are happening, lot of revolutionary changes are happening, lot of old paradigms are basically breaking down. So, we need to have very flexible educational policy. Of course, multidisciplinary is also a must. It must be flexible, it must support multidisciplinary learning, it must meet diverse requirements, and all of this I think will be met because the policy is very comprehensive, but then this is also very important. A policy, however noble and well intentioned, cannot change the status quo unless we, the citizens of India, shoulder our responsibilities and work together for the greater good of our country and the world. This is something that I see many a time, that we have excellent policies, but then many of us, we are not really pulling our weight, as a result of which what is envisaged really does not, is not really coming through. So, here I would also like to recollect some very wise words spoken by some of the greatest sons that Mother India has produced, Gandhiji and Swami Vivekananda. Gandhiji had said education is the most powerful tool which has the potential or the ability to reshape Indian society. Education must emphasize character building, moral values, acquisition of moral values, ethics and free learning. He was, if you read his autobiography, he says very clearly that I am not really fond of, I am not really in favor of children memorizing the 3 R's. By 3 R's are meant reading, writing, arithmetic. Writing is writing as silent in W, reading, writing, arithmetic, that is what is the 3 R's refers to. He basically says that just memorizing facts and figures, just memorizing certain things does not actually make you truly educated. Education is more than just having certain skills, acquiring certain skills, or being a master of certain technologies. He advocated that basic education should be made free and accessible to everyone, and of course those days we had a lot of barriers towards acquisition of education, which he felt should be broken down, and I think we have succeeded to a great extent in that. Then of course he also very strongly advocated craft centered vocational education. I think if you remember, if those of you have read his autobiography, will see that many a time he did not send his own children to school, saying that the schooling system is not actually, education is not really going to come through the schooling system. He wanted to basically educate them himself, and that at some point in his autobiography also makes a statement that unfortunately because of my other commitments, I did a grave injustice to my children, neither did I send them to school, and nor was I able to give them enough time to give them a sound education. So of course here these are craft centered vocational education, encouragement to include handicrafts, vocational trades. Then as Professor Murthy said, fine arts and culture, these are now that is NEP 2020 encourages institutions to bring them in as compulsory subjects, and I think this is a very great move. Here what should education be? In some sense it should be inclusive, available to all seekers. It should lead to overall development of students. By overall development of students, not just their ability to make money or have a great career, but it should basically shape their character, imbibe great morals, and then also pride in one's culture and nation. I remember as a child being in awe of the white man, whenever we would see, because we were in Delhi, many a time we would see these foreigners in the embassies and in other places, and somehow we had a feeling that in some sense we are inferior, or in some sense they are superior to us just based on the color of our skin. This must not happen. Pride in one's culture, the national achievements, awareness of our historical achievements, empathy for all creatures, awareness of the underlying unity of all life. I think this is something that we need to bring into our educational system. This is a very famous quote by Gandhiji: an education which does not teach us to discriminate between good and bad, to assimilate what is good and to eschew what is bad, is essentially a misnomer. You really cannot call it education. He felt very strongly about many aspects of education, modern education, and he has made the following scathing remarks. Let me just very briefly, let us just look at what he had said. And this is very true of the value, the way in which education is perceived today. We assess the value of education in the same manner as we assess the value of land or shares in the stock market, right? We want to only provide such education as would enable the student to earn more. We hardly give any thought to the improvement of character of the educated person. As long as such ideas persist, there is no hope of our ever knowing the true value of education. I think these are very pertinent points that he had made maybe about 100 years back, but they are very still relevant even today, and we as educators really need to think, brainstorm, and look at what can be done to change this. This is really not acceptable, and maybe because we are not able to bring about these changes, our stature in society is what it is. Yes, going forward, it is also very clear that education must be more than just a means to earn money, have a great career, enjoy life, and travel around the world. And in the words of Swami Vivekananda, education must be man-making education. What does he mean by man-making? It must elevate the nature of human beings, help them to sublimate their base desires, build character, inculcate self-belief, ethical and social values, and foster a strong feeling of love for the nation and for all living beings. I think, in very few words, Swami Vivekananda has essentially explained what education has to be, and it is our duty as educators and teachers to see how, we can really take a step ahead from what we are doing. We are now trying to impart skills, we are trying to impart maybe, a lot of technical knowledge, maybe, we are trying to impart a lot of physical, teach a lot of physical and mathematical sciences, but then we need to go beyond this. So, here, I would also like to spend a few words, a little bit of time on what should be the role of and responsibilities of planning bodies and educators. I think, our bodies and ourselves as educators, we must create and implement on ground a strong, vibrant and inclusive educational technology of high quality that can provide to each citizen the education that he or she desires to acquire educational policy formulation and implementation. Of course, this has been largely addressed by NEP, but then the point is that, a policy in itself is just a document. It all depends on, how we are really going to take that policy forward. Jobs and salaries in India, are confined to a few sectors. This is also very, very tragic, right? Because the future of this world is now going to lie in domains such as renewable energy, in material science, and what is it that we are seeing? We are seeing a situation where our students are, just trying to confine themselves to a few sectors that probably lead them to, high paying career paths at this point in time. Tomorrow what is going to happen? None of us know, but somehow there is a very strong push towards students, taking up certain domains at the cost of, complete ignorance or, completely neglecting all other domains. This, of course, trend must be corrected, and of course, we cannot blame our children for this. It is due to probably policy failure that, in our country, we have not been able to really create high paying or jobs, or, we have not really been able to create opportunities in all domains. Opportunities have come and they have been restricted to certain domains, high paying opportunities especially, and then, naturally, as human beings, we are attracted towards them. NITI Aayog, the central and state governments must design and implement policies that will support citizens involved in all sectors of the economy. This is, I think, something that I put down after considerable thought. All sectors of the economy, must be strengthened. Person, irrespective of which sector of the economy he works in, he must be able to earn enough to lead a dignified life. Whether he is an agriculturist, whether, he is working in the domain of animal husbandry, whether he is a fisherman or, involved in fisheries trade, or, any other trade that one can think of, right? We must ensure that all of them can lead dignified lives, and, there is nothing like a big income gradient across different domains of human enterprise. Policies, of course, must also be framed to take advantage of the demographic wave that India is going to enjoying today. We know that, we have a very young population, and our young population, can actually do a lot towards, working in the entire world. Policies must be created to provide gainful employment to all who desire to work. With a little effort, we can produce trained and diligent human resource to the whole world. We should strive to become a world leader in manufacturing, skill development, affordable health care, and all sectors which are vital for the well-being of the world. Right? There are, because I think this is the key word, well-being of the whole world. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the key word, and we should become Vishwaguru or a world leader in all those sectors which are vital for the well-being of the whole world. Right? And in all of this, educational institutions have a vital role to play. I am just, quoting this. The Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing grounds of Eton. This is a very famous quote, that has come from England, and this refers to Battle of Waterloo was the battle in which Napoleon was defeated, and after Napoleon was defeated, England was more or less able to then colonize the world, take over the world, and then maybe impose its thinking on most of the world. So the point here that is being made is that the Battle of Waterloo, was led by generals, or was led by leaders who are actually trained in Eton. So therefore, all the strategies that they applied to win this battle, were strategies that they had picked up in the playing grounds of Eton. Eton, as we all know, is a very famous school in England. So, what are our responsibilities here? I feel that we must strive hard to become a world leader in all sectors which are vital for the well-being of the world: high value engineering, design, high value pharmaceutics, efficient agricultural practices, renewable energy, sustainable utilization of materials with emphasis on recycling. Right? Of course, these are just 5 points that have come to my mind. There may be many more. I apologize if something important has been left over. But then here, we as teachers have the duty to motivate and inspire our students to sincerely undertake study of core science and engineering subjects. And in addition to this, certain of course, we are teachers of students in engineering. So therefore, we have to motivate and inspire our students to sincerely undertake the study of core science and engineering subjects. I see this, tremendously lacking in students of today, because probably due to the proliferation of our placement cells and the kind of importance that we are giving to placement, they think that their job is done once they are placed. I think, that is not completely correct. We are completely distorting or warping the educational process. We must train them to be lifelong learners. We must train them to essentially sincerely undertake study of core science, engineering, mathematical subjects to support nation building, not be swayed by the latest fancy jargon spewed out by the media, right? I think, this viveka, I think, in Sanskrit we would call this viveka, and this viveka, this aspect of viveka is something that we need to impart, and many a time maybe this comes by personal example. So, but this is something, how to do it can be debated upon, but this is something that we need to do. And finally here, I would like to say that, our countries such as, England, Germany, Japan, they basically made rapid strides in technology, but they were guided by the colonial mindset, right, which basically then they had no qualms about enslaving the whole world. They had absolutely no guilt about enslaving the whole world, bringing about wars, implement famine by state policy. We all know, what happened in West Bengal, in the 1940s, right, famine by state policy, millions of people died of hunger and, committed other crimes of humanity. This must not happen just because, we are riding the wave, right, and probably, we are going to dominate many things in the next 100 years. We should not become reverse colonizers. Reverse colonization should not be our goal. Our goal, must be guided by ancient Indian precepts that, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we all are one at the organic level, right. That is, if I induce suffering on another living being, that suffering that I am going to induce on that living being is going to come back to me, because, at a fundamental level we are not different. So here, I think, very briefly, let me also put down certain statements that Swami Vivekananda had said. He had defined education as the manifestation of perfection already in man. The aim of education is to manifest our lives, is to manifest in our lives the perfection which is the very nature of our inner self. Education must be man-making and humanizing. It must be structured to enable all human beings to achieve their full potential. Should inculcate qualities of empathy, social justice, nobility. It should not reduce people to the level of unthinking machines, right. So, of course, it is universally recognized that good education is the key to economic growth, social justice, scientific advancement, national integration and culture preservation. But then, we must also ensure that, the education that we are imparting also, transforms our students into good, humane human beings, right. That is the feeling of oneness with all of life. That is something that we need to somehow impart, and maybe, that comes by many a time setting a personal example. All of these, qualities, all of these qualities are essential to empower India's continued ascent, progress and leadership on the global stage as a responsible, benevolent nation concerned about the well-being of all. So now, here NEP 2020, I think we have been talking about it. It's a holistic and comprehensive policy, right, and is aimed towards nation building, universal recognition for the importance of education in shaping our lives. Again, I emphasize that probably education is, is the most important investment that can be made in the life of young people. So, we must not only be restrict ourselves educating our children, but must also our students, but also create skilling opportunities in our institutes to help upskill students who do not who are not coming through the system to join our institutions, right. India is of course riding the demographic wave today. It has the largest population of young people. This is perceived as a tremendous opportunity. We need to make the best of this, right. Young people constitute the driving force that will provide a large pool of skilled human resources to the world, right. Our young people will be doing this. So, skilled and educated young men and women will play a key role in India's continued ascent, progress, leadership on the global stage, and as teachers we have to facilitate this. I think this is the underlying statement. As educationists we have a great responsibility, and we have to facilitate, we have to play our role in facilitating this desired goal. So, here again briefly, I think the rich heritage of ancient Indian knowledge, yes, is the guiding light for the NEP 2020 document. As we all know, aim of education in ancient India was not limited to acquisition of knowledge or just the 3 R's. It laid on, it laid emphasis on preparation for life in this world, as well as complete realization and liberation of the self. I think there are many Sanskrit, hymns or many Sanskrit shlokas on this particular topic or on this particular point that emphasize that you should lead your life in such a way that when you die you have no regrets absolutely. And of course we had many world class institutions, Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Vallabhi, etc. They set very high standards of multidisciplinary teaching and research. They hosted scholars and students from across backgrounds and countries, and they also produced great scholars, right. We produced great scholars across disciplines, Charaka, Sushruta in surgery, Charaka in Ayurveda, Aryabhatta, Bhaskaracharya in mathematics, Chanakya political science, Madhava in philosophy, Patanjali of course the science of yoga, Panini the famous Sanskrit grammarian, and Tiruvalluvar the famous saint from Tamil Nadu. They have all made seminal contributions to world knowledge in diverse fields. Now, looking at technology, it is not as though these practical arts were neglected. You see, disciplines as diverse as mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, medical science, surgery, civil engineering, architecture, shipbuilding, right. All of these were developed and disseminated throughout the world. We had great, we had great leading authorities in all of these domains, because when you look at the Pallavas or the Cholas crossing the ocean and spreading Indian philosophy and Indian thought in Malaysia, Thailand and other countries, obviously this could not have been done without very effective means of sea navigation. So we had great experts in many domains. So obviously Indian culture and philosophy had a strong influence, and what is it that we must do now? These rich legacies to world heritage must not only be nurtured and preserved for posterity, but also must be researched, enhanced and put to new uses through our education system, right. They should be integrated into a holistic education to help develop creativity and originality of students. This again is something that is being compromised upon thanks to our coaching system, right. We need to now bring back that our coaching system, which is like a mass production system training students for these examinations, it has a it has a terrible effect on stunting the creativity and originality of students. We need to see what can be done to set these things right. Somehow we need to set these things right. We cannot really allow our coaching centers to destroy the lives, creativity, thinking and abilities of our young people. If you look at certain notable achievements of Indian science and technology, discovery of brass as an alloy of copper and zinc, we have the very famous example of the Ashoka pillar in Delhi, right, 3rd century BC, and tremendous achievement in metallurgical sciences, shows no effect of rusting until very recently. And here I was fortunate enough to go to and visit the Bhubaneswar temple last week, and the kind of, it is a civil engineering marvel actually. All of those structures made by the Cholas, Pallavas, the Vijayanagara kingdom, the Hoysala dynasties, they are civil engineering marvels. You have 72-meter tall buildings, and you have huge sculptures weighing several tons placed on the top of these buildings. How they managed to put these stones in place is a miracle, and is also a mystery. I really do not know how this was managed, but then it was managed, and these temples, the Thanjavur temple, Brihadishwara temple, is said to have been built in the 11th century BC, 10,000, that is, if I remember correctly, what the guide, 10,034, 1034 AD. So it has now survived in this form for more than 1,000 years, and it is still going strong. There are no signs that it is likely to fall down or collapse. It has seen many earthquakes. So how has this happened? So obviously our people were really very, very great at the physical sciences also. It is not that our contributions were mainly towards philosophy, towards fine arts, towards culture, but towards the physical sciences also we had made tremendous contributions. And of course, town planning, Harappan civilization, when you look at the photographs of Harappa, we see a very clear layout of streets, we see arrangement for drainage facilities, we see water storage areas. So basically the point I am trying to make here is that our educational system, whatever it was, and was producing very skilled, knowledgeable and competent professionals. The British came and told us that all that you are doing is useless, and your education system is of no use. It is only good for producing priests and priests and who can function in temples, and they basically distorted and killed an ancient system of knowledge transfer that was producing highly skilled, knowledgeable and competent professionals. So I think with NEP 2020 we have a golden opportunity to basically get all of this back, go back to what we were, and again try to regain our status as Vishwaguru. Here Professor Patel requested me to have a look at the NEP 2020 implementation in Rourkela and give some inputs or give my feedback. The feedback, whatever feedback I am giving is just not my feedback, but the feedback of faculty members in NITK with whom I have been interacting. I think here the first point that was made is that increase the domestic and international students at NITK, at NITR Rourkela. My submission is that we need to introduce new UG PG programs in upcoming in-demand domains of human knowledge. I think this is something that was emphasized by Professor Murthy also, that we need to introduce new programs, right. What is the associated challenge? Because of severe funding requirements or constraints imposed on us, wherein additional funding for infrastructure creation is not coming up easily, right. So we have to set up state-of-the-art modern laboratories to support these new programs, but then that is funding for this is very hard to get, right. Here is where I think I would like to thank Professor Bhubaneswar Rao. We created a state-of-the-art central research facility with HIFA funding. It was very heavily criticized by many people at various points in time during his tenure at NITK, but now what we are seeing is that the equipment that has been put in place is really helping us to conduct new research. And sir, I am very glad to tell you, sir, that the last financial year we were able to get consultancy revenue to the extent of 1 crore based on CRF. CRF generated consultancy revenue to the extent of 1 crore. That is, sir, in financial year 22-23. And in the first month of financial year 23-24, CRF has generated 10 lakhs just in 1 month, sir. This is what the data that Professor Satyanarayana gave me day before yesterday. He just messaged me saying, I am very happy to tell you that we have been able to generate consultancy income to the tune of rupees 10 lakhs in just 1 month. So, sir, this is really helping us tremendously, and we are going in for NABL accreditation, NABL, that is sir, NABL, that is that we have that body, right, which accredits and basically gives it certification, and we are hoping that once we have that NABL accreditation, we will be able to basically do more towards IRG generation. Of course, research is happening. So what I feel is that if there is this challenge, there is one needs to of course balance this very carefully, because HIFA funding is something that has to be returned, at least the principal component has to be returned, but then we need to look at it very carefully, set up state-of-the-art laboratories to support these courses, so that these programs have value. Traditionally, just teaching a program, just teaching theory is not really going to help in the modern setting at all. So we have to set up programs, create programs, and also set up state-of-the-art modern laboratories by whatever means possible. Only then will we be able to attract more and more students. So that is why I have said here, to address this challenge, we can basically make use of strategic use of the policy on industry supported COEs. This is something that I think many of you would be familiar with. MOE has a policy on setting up industry supported COEs. wherein we can invite COEs, wherein we can invite very established big companies, and they contribute 85% of the cost towards setting up the COE, and the institute has to contribute only 50%. So, we have been able to set up a Siemens supported COE, you making use of this policy, and I think that is also really going to help us in the years to come, because we are going to have extremely state of the art facilities in manufacturing engineering. Then if we have to get more and more UG PG students, we have to start these programs, but we also have to attract students. I think we have to here use our extensive alumni base. NIT Rourkela would have a very extensive alumni base, many of them in very influential positions and in a positions to take a lot of decisions, and then also if possible reach out to the Oriya diaspora in foreign countries. This is something that our Trichy director had once in some conversation with her, when I had asked her as to, madam, how you are able to attract more and more foreign students to your institute. She said that we are basically reaching out to the Tamil diaspora living in places such as Malaysia and Singapore. Malaysia, Singapore and these countries have a large number of people of Tamil origin who have gone there maybe 50 years back, 100 years back. We are basically trying to reach out to them and telling them that, look, we have these facilities here, we have an excellent setup for imparting education, why don't you send your children over here? I think this is something that can be done. Similarly, just as she was able to reach out to the Tamil diaspora, I think NIT Rourkela can try to reach out to the Oriya diaspora in foreign countries, and then try to see whether some of their children can be basically whether we can through this approach, through this process we can facilitate some of their children, or children from within their circle to come and do this, right? This too, in order to this requires a lot of work, obviously, marketing, setting up of documents, documentation, policy creation, and many other things. So we need to provide set up a cell under a suitable dean. In our institute, it will be Dean A and IR. I do not know, what would be the designation here, what would be the, but a cell under a very competent and a very proactive person, a proactive authority needs to be set up to undertake this task. And then of course, this is again very important. I think we need to seek strategic partnerships with large universities. See, many of them are interested, and in fact, I would like to tell you that we had put in a lot of effort to get Michigan State University and establish a twinning program with them, but somehow it did not go through. But such efforts can be put in here, right? Try to seek or come up with strategic partnership with leading universities in the developed world, design twinning programs which are beneficial to both partners. It is not that we just send our students to them, right? We must design the program in such a way that we are also benefited, and I think this can be done with a little bit of thought and brainstorm. So here I would like to emphasize, I would like to state that because of Professor Bhubaneswar Rao's foresight, we created a central research facility with HIFA funding, and it has really become very useful to us today. I am very happy to say this, and I am also thanking Professor Rao for having done this and having set it up in spite of all of the criticism and all of the difficulties that came in the way. So, sir, the second point that was made in the document was to offer more programs in humanities and social sciences and soft skill. Sir, my submission here would be, we have to of course strengthen the corresponding department with more faculty members, PDFs and research scholars. And then as we are saying, there are a number of attractive PG programs that can be actually proposed. Some of them, and what is really happening is as our society is moving forward, and as technology is changing, as financial management is changing, there are a number of PG programs that we can define, right, combining or having a combination of data analytics, economics, financial management, etc., wherein we bring in aspects of technology, and then we bring in aspects of social sciences. So try to bring in more and more such PG programs, maybe PG executive MBA programs, and such programs which will then help us to not only generate IRG, but also help the institute in broad basing the courses that it is offering. Then of course, so this is something that is new, create a comprehensive framework for appointment of professors of practice. I think this notion of professors of practice is a very welcome move, and we are trying to actually put in place a framework for appointment of professors of practice, wherein we are seeing that there are a lot of people, administrators, for instance retired administrators, retired bankers, retired professionals in various domains, retired diplomats, retired military officers, whom all of whom have a great deal of knowledge, have a great deal of domain knowledge, and who can actually be extremely good mentors for our students. So we need to create a framework for appointment of professors of practice, and then make use of this framework to basically bring a number of these distinguished people to the institute, and then through their help design specialized courses, right, at UG PG level, conduct workshops, training programs, certification programs. Many of these programs can be helmed by the professors of practice. They can lead these programs. Then since all of them have a great deal of experience and domain expertise, we need to be able to build networks. I think today building networks is also very important. So build networks with the help of professors of practice to acquire funded research projects in the domains of humanities, social sciences and management, because trying to strengthen this domain just with the efforts of faculty is something, not that it will not yield fruit, it will yield fruit, but then if it can be that is, if synergy can be brought in by combining this with the efforts put in by professors of practice appointed by us. And our policy towards appointment of the professor of practice is that the professor of practice is appointed for a year, and of course we have laid down certain requirements that he needs to satisfy, but they are very broad based. We are trying to emphasize skill. We are not just looking at academic qualifications possessed by the professor of practice. In fact, we have strictly de-emphasized that the aspect as far as the qualifications are concerned, we are not really, there is a lot of gray area in the sense that there is a lot of flexibility that we can bring in there. What we are emphasizing is the knowledge, the experience, and the domain expertise that he brings. Then with the help of these professors of practice, I think we can also initiate projects, right, with significant social impact. I think this is also very important with the mentorship of these POPs. So these professors of practice, in the sense that to do this, I see a two-pronged manner in which this needs to be done. Firstly, of course, strengthening our departments, then offering attractive PG programs, interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary PG programs, so that the program gets more and more publicity, gets more and more visibility. This needs to be done. Then appoint professors of practice, and then seek their help in further strengthening such programs, that further strengthening our work in these domains of humanities and social sciences. Then, so the third issue that Professor Patel had specified, to link academic programs to public social, public common societal issues. Academic programs need to be linked to the real world. This is of course very, very important. So this again is that, of course, create an active center for industry interaction and consultancy. This would probably be already there, but it needs to be essentially made very active and proactive, I would say, not just active but proactive. But here, reach out to industry, R&D organizations, commercial establishments, financial institutions, acquaint them with faculty, software, technical resource available, and seek consultancy, industry supported R&D projects. See, this is actually a very difficult task, but it needs to be done, and it will not happen that every approach that you make will be successful. For instance, we had senior officers from the Bank of Baroda coming to us and saying that we would like to have, we would like to sit with you and then design a software package like the SBI YONO, right. They wanted something on the scale of SBI YONO to be developed, but then they were basically talking to us and seeing whether we can help them in doing this. But then something happened, and as far as the financial terms that we had proposed was not acceptable to them, and it fell through. So what will really happen with this is that one will have to keep trying. Certain places we will meet with success, certain places we will meet with abject failure, but we should not be afraid of failure here, right. So once we reach out to R&D organizations, financial institutions, commercial establishments, right, banks, financial institutions, and then what really happens is that seek active consultancy projects, industry supported R&D projects, etc. So then what will really happen is that automatically our students will get involved in these projects. Moment students get involved in these projects, right, what happens is that their education gets broad based. What they are learning, a lot of organic learning will also happen as they work on these projects, and obviously they will actually be much better when they go out, right, as compared to what they would have been if these facilities were not there. Yes. Okay, sure. I will. Yes. So of course, here involve committed students in the execution of these projects. Student involvement is essential. Then here I think we should also set up a institute social responsibility fund, right? As it can be a small amount actually. We have one such fund in NITK Rourkela, which essentially allows faculty members to propose socially relevant projects with technical intervention by the faculty member, actual implementation to be taken up jointly by faculty, staff and students, right. So here these programs must be designed to undertake, right, socially meaningful small scale R&D work, and they will also help us to improve the institute perception. Now, open distance learning programs also have to be planned, and I think I have made certain statements here. Some of this is basically based on what we have been trying to do at NITK Rourkela. Since there is a constraint on time, I would not be, I think most of it is self-explanatory, right. I will not essentially elaborate on these points, right. I mean you can very easily we can read, and then basically the thrust here is that we need to create, our continuing education cell needs to be strengthened. A variety of training programs have to be basically set up and then organized through the Center for Continuing Education, right. And if we have set up industry supported COEs, then we need to use these facilities to organize high end training and skilling programs. So the point is that these training programs, right, should be designed to generate IRG. I'm sorry, of course IPR also, right, that is intellectual property resources, should be used to enhance IRG, that is institute revenue generation, perception as well as outreach. Now, interdisciplinary center for innovation and product development, again I think here most of these points are more or less self-explanatory. In this I would just like to mention that we had done such a project with the ministry, with contribution from the Ministry of Heavy Industry, right. That was the NITK Aditya Auto project, wherein we were trying to develop reluctance motors, switched reluctance motors for EVs, electric vehicles, specifically auto rickshaws. So of course IPR and technology development framework needs to be created, and then create a bank of IPRs and patents, right, get them evaluated for commercial exploitation, and then see that they are commercially exploited. I think many a time we are acquiring IPRs and patents and just lying as documents. That is not good enough. We need to get our IPRs and patents evaluated for commercial exploitation, license them and earn IRG. I think we have a lot to learn in this matter from IIT Madras as well as IIT Hyderabad. We are actually learning from them, and we are trying to create our policy here. So policy, of course, one point is that policy framework should be faculty centric, and adequate encouragement and support should be offered to faculty members actually creating these IPRs. Then of course encouragement to faculty members here also, I would just like to mention, most of these things are self-explanatory, but one thing I would just like to, one initiative that we had started under Professor U.M. Rao, right. We are, in addition to the support provided under CPDA for publishing in open access journals or in very high end journals, we are providing support up to rupees 70,000 2 times in a financial year to a faculty member, right, for supporting publications in QN journals. So this amount can be combined with CPDA and project funds that the faculty member possesses, right. So I think there are many points that I have made here. Some of them are based on what is in place at NITK Rourkela, and some of them are based on what we would like to put in place at NITK Rourkela. Then of course sound moral character and inculcate in our students a love for our heritage. I think my submission here is that taking classes on these things is not really going to have any effect, or is not going to have any great positive effect, because students will simply sit in these classes with their sense organs switched off. So we need to basically do this by personal example. I think we need to say, look, we are like this, and we need to basically adhere to the highest principles of ethics, morality, and as mentors we should be in a position to be actually offering them unconditional support. And then once we do that, right, they get enthused by our example. We need to set examples so that they can follow. I think that is my point here. Of course cultural activities such as PICMAC, and we have Bharat Darshan. In NITK, Bharat Darshan is basically a program wherein every students from every state come together and project a cultural event from their particular state. For instance, students from Odia students will project something or will present something, from the fine arts or cultural traditions of Orissa. Students from Kerala will present something from the cultural traditions of Kerala, etc. So such programs can be thought of and supported. And then I think the point I am trying to make here is that faculty members must set an example in upright conduct, offer selfless, unconditional support and mentoring to needy students, and our conduct will play a significant role in shaping their personalities, right? No point in giving lectures and no point in, even possibly calling people from outside to talk to them. It will have very minimal effect. I think what needs to be done is to set personal example, right? So here again, virtues such as sound character, good conduct, sincere attitude, good work ethic are best imbibed by setting a personal example by the teaching fraternity. So this is the last point that I am trying to make: multiple entry, multiple exit. These are some doubts that were there in our own department when we had these discussions. See, if multiple, we are talking of exit, right? If you are saying that at the end of first year we'll give you a certain certificate which allows you to exit, the point is where does the student go? The student would not have acquired enough technical expertise to work as technologists at the end of first year of study. Even at the end of second year of study, they will have only limited exposure. So what is a typical diploma holder expected to do? He is expected to possess considerable hands-on skill in the trade of his or her specialization, right? They would be expected to fit into certain leadership positions. So would our students really be able to do this if they exit at the end of first year or second year? They would not. Probably as things stand, they would not. So what is it that we can do, right? So here, citing the electronics example, suppose we are in a position to introduce them to courses in laboratories, say in consumer electronics, networking, CAD-based PCB design, or any other trade that is that makes them employable in industry. But we need to be able to do this in the first and second year itself, and that's a great challenge. And not every student will want to exit. Only a certain number would want to exit. So can we really have these courses specifically for a small number of students who want to take an exit at the end of first year, second year? This is a question that needs to be, that comes to our mind. It has come up in our discussions, and that is why I am presenting them here. Similarly, citing the mechanical engineering domain, right? We will have to introduce our students to thermal engineering, maybe automobile engineering, additive manufacturing, CAD/CAM, or any other suitable trade, right? So how do we do this in the first and second year, right? Is a great challenge. And how do we basically, because not, as I said, not everyone wants to take an exit. So only those who want to take an exit need to undergo these courses. So how are we going to, this is not going to add to our load. And in the current context, when most of our young faculty members are focused on research outcomes and not necessarily on spending a great deal of time teaching mundane courses, how can we make this happen, right? So any effective solution will require deep deliberations, brainstorming, and proactive efforts. This is what I think was my conclusion. Now I think with this I would like to bring my talk to bring closure to my presentation. If I have, if the esteemed audience has any questions, I would like to take them. And
a question from the audience? Please raise your hand. I'll be there. We are given 3:30. Any questions?
Okay. Yeah, so I think with this, we thank Professor Sripati Acharya for being with us and coming a long way from Suratkal. And as we could see from his slides, the academic bank of credit, whichever we are all deliberating on.
He gave us our own Professor Bhubaneswar Rao's financial bank of credit with what was set up as form of a research center there, which is giving revenue. So that kind of thing, what the feedback that we got from here, and of course we'll take, like Professor Patel has noted all these points what has been told. So it will really help us talk about this in the Senate. So with these few words, I thank Professor Acharya for being here, and I request Director Sir to felicitate Professor Acharya.
Our next session will be an online session by Professor Nandagiri.
Professor Patel is calling. Acha, Professor Patel is calling.
ମିଳକୁ ସେ ବାହାରିକି ପଳେଇଲେ।
ଆପଣ ମତେ ଦେଖିଲେ କି?
ହଁ
ସେଟା ଠିକ ଅଛି। He's joining. Acha, he got disconnected. Okay.
ହଁ
ସେଇଟାକୁ ପିନ୍ କରିଦେବ।
साउंड लगी है ना।
Hello, I'm online.
Yeah. Are you able to hear us, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, so we are honored to have with us Professor L. Nandagiri from NIT Rourkela. It will be the last session of the day. It will be an online session, and sir is going to give us the role of the changing education landscape with regard to NEP 2020. So over and to you, sir, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. Let me first thank my friend and former boss, Professor Bhubaneswar Rao, for having given me an opportunity to be a part of this very useful and very important workshop, which is being organized by NIT Rourkela. And let me also thank Professor Patel for having organized this event to bring people together. I have been listening to the presentation since morning, and I have also heard many of the stalwarts in the area of technical education who have spoken on this very important topic of how to implement the NEP 2020 to make it as effective as possible for our students. And as Professor Bhubaneswar Rao rightly said, whatever we do, we must never forget the fact that this has to be a student-centric approach. We have to take ourselves out of the loop and look at it from the viewpoint of the students. I have a presentation to make, and given the fact that this presentation is coming at the end of the day, I will try to make it as spicy as possible to capture your attention and make sure that you do not continue to sleep. And let me hope that some of my slides will be able to capture your attention. So let me make a presentation by sharing my screen, and if that is visible. Is that visible?
Yes, sir. I confirm that it's visible, sir. We can see that refining the goal of engineering education.
Yes, yes. Oh, right. Thank you.
So I decided to title my talk as Refining the Goal of Engineering Education. And in the next half an hour to 40 minutes or so, I will try to put forth some of my own viewpoints on this very important topic of engineering education and try to look at historically what are the mistakes that we have made and what the kind of actions that need to be taken in the future if we want to keep engineering education relevant and sustainable in the future. Just to give you a quick overview of what I would be talking about, I will first talk about the challenges for engineering education, and then I will be talking about some of the new paradigms in teaching and learning which have come out in the recent past, which leads to something that I think is going to be the future of engineering education, which is the project-based learning. And then we will talk about briefly a new approach, which is known as the CDIO approach, which I believe possesses all the qualities that are needed to cater to most of the aspects of NEP 2020 and make sure that we are able to deliver it to the students in a BTech program. And lastly, I would talk about an idea which I have been proposing at NIT Rourkela for some time now, but nothing seems to have progressed in that direction. But I hope NIT Rourkela will think about this higher education institution clusters. Now, if you look at the vision of NEP 2020 for higher education, it is very clear and precise. It is to develop good, thoughtful, well-rounded and creative individuals for the 21st century with certain capabilities, specialization, personality development and social skills. We need to promote entrepreneurship in our students, and we need to make sure that students contribute to nation building. The NEP 2020 document identifies 10 major problems in the current higher education system and therefore suggests 9 key changes, bringing in the so-called MERUs or the multidisciplinary institutions, increased autonomy, revamping curriculum, merit-based promotions, light but not tight regulation. I'm not sure what they mean by that, and increased access and equity to higher education and open distance learning. And if you look at the topic of engineering education over the humankind, we see that engineering has always been a very important, very fascinating profession. As Leonardo da Vinci rightly pointed out, it is all about application. Being willing is not enough, we must do. Or the fact that Asimov pointed out that while science can amuse and fascinate us all, it is engineering that changes the world. And Von Karman went on to say that scientists will only study the world as it is, but engineers will create the world which has never been there. So this is what engineering has been, is, and hopefully will continue to be in the future. And one thing that we can recognize in all this is that throughout history, engineering has always been about doing. The practice of engineering is something that has always been most important. And in my personal belief, along the way somewhere we seem to have lost that focus, as you will see in some of the next slides. Very interestingly, I tried to see if we have some goals for engineering education, undergraduate education especially. And my own search on the internet, I was quite surprised to see that there are no institutions in this country which have clearly defined a goal for engineering undergraduate education. For example, the AICT has not come out with any clear goals of what engineering education should be about. The only goal that I could find was this from the National Research Council of the United States, where they talk about these goals almost 35 years ago. And again, if you read these goals, you can see that there is a stress on engineering practice and providing lifelong learning, professional development, and so on. And many institutions like NIT Rourkela, the IITs, NIT Rourkela, we seem to have created our own vision and mission statements based on many of these words and phrases. But I really don't know whether this vision and mission really gets translated into the curriculum and the syllabus, and we are really achieving any clear goals for our engineering graduates. So I believe there is a need for us to clearly define goals for engineering education before we proceed forward and formulate and create our syllabi and curricula. There are many current challenges which engineering education currently faces in our country. I've tried to put a list down here. This list is by no means complete. It is these are some of the challenges that I could think of. For example, we all hear of this declining interest in engineering careers, especially core engineering disciplines, and it's not uncommon to see a headline like this year after year, where more than 50% of the seats in engineering colleges remain vacant. But the second headline there, the sub-headline is also interesting. The IITs and the NITs don't seem to have a problem in filling up their seats. But the NITs and IITs seem to have another kind of problem where there is a high attrition from the engineering programs. Students dropping out from the IITs and also the NITs. And when I talk to my own students, undergraduate students, they confide in me that they don't find engineering education programs very interesting. They find it's quite dull and not what they expected when they started preparing for a career in engineering. When it comes to the employability issues, I think Professor Bhubaneswar Rao rightly pointed this out in his opening remarks. This National Employability Report, which was published in 2019, talks about the employability percentage of our students. And the vertical axis there shows you that the maximum employability percentage is only 45%. And that too, it is extremely poor for engineering roles, whether it's a design engineer, chemical, civil, electrical, electronics, and so on. There seems to be a slight improvement for IT roles and non-technical roles. But for engineering roles, the employability percentage seems to be extremely small. And if you look at what the employers are seeking from our graduates, the India Skills Report 2020 points out that more than 50% of employers feel that our students don't satisfy the job requirements, which is a shocking figure. And further, if you see, the employers are looking for certain skills such as positive attitude, adaptability, learning agility, domain expertise, and interpersonal skills, whereas we seem to be focusing on other types of skills. And in fact, it came as a surprise to me that the industries don't prefer domain expertise as much as they prefer a positive attitude in our students. So while we are focusing our syllabi and curricula on domain expertise, the industry seems to be expecting something different from our engineering graduates. When it comes to the way we way we carry out our business in terms of lecture-based education, the cartoon there tells the story where the professor has the intent to make all of them critical thinkers, but what he's saying is not promoting that. He expects all of them to be independent, innovative, and critical thinkers, but they will do exactly as he says. And if you see the kind of evaluation that we have, we seem to have one common evaluation procedure for our students who have diverse capabilities. And we need to really think about how we can come out with better mechanisms of evaluating diverse set of students. When it comes to the content of our syllabi and curricula, the knowledge is exploding at an hourly time scale now. At the beginning of the century, it was doubling every century, but IBM predicts that from now on, knowledge is going to double at hourly time scales. And it may not be surprising for a faculty member to walk into a classroom and make an announcement like what that teacher is saying there, saying that due to technological advances which have taken place, whatever I taught you is totally obsolete or invalid. And I think many of us, when we go to the class, feel the same way, seeing what is happening in the industry and what is there in our own syllabi. When it comes to the adoption of technology in teaching and learning, students have their expectations are quite different today. They are tech savvy, whereas faculty members are not catching up to their expectations. For instance, the student doesn't even want to believe the information because of the outdated technology that is being used to convey the information, or the fact that a student today would rather communicate over the mobile phone rather than talk to us face to face. So this is the change that is happening in the new generation, and I think we need to catch up with them in terms of the technology that we use for our teaching and learning processes. When it comes to the faculty, I think we are getting into the worst kind of situation where we have today a situation where a faculty member has to do enormous amount of multitasking in comparison to the older teachers who taught many people like us and Professor Bhubaneswar Rao, for whom the knowledge transfer, discipline, punctuality, homework was very important. But today, a young assistant professor in an NIT or an IIT has to do enormous amount of multitasking, instruction, research, mentoring, evaluation, consulting, administration, and outreach. And on top of that, we have the credit point system, the annual appraisal, the student feedback. So we are burdening our faculty members, and we are not really allowing them to do their jobs as teachers and as facilitators. They just don't have sufficient time to be really good teachers and really good facilitators for their own students. So this is something that we need to really think about. When it comes to the management, I think they have their own set of problems where they are looking at issues related to the borrowing, funding and borrowing. I'm sure Professor Bhubaneswar Rao will agree that today the word funding has disappeared from the dictionary and has been replaced by the word borrowing, where you have to talk in terms of HIFA or the PPP model for creation of infrastructure. And every institution today is doing the catching up business of NIRF ranking and QS ranking. So I think management is also has its plate full in terms of the challenges. So with all these challenges, I think engineering education today is really at the crossroads. And again, I would like to recall Professor Bhubaneswar Rao did make this point in his opening remarks. There is a path now. There are two paths, and we have to choose the path, the right path. If we choose the path on the left, we will remain mediocre and irrelevant. On the other hand, if we choose the path on the right and we decide to change, we will achieve excellence and we will remain relevant in the future. But then the question arises, is it that we have never changed? Has engineering education in India never changed? I did a small kind of analysis here, and I divided the engineering education into two parts, the pre-1985 part and the post-1985 part, simply because of the fact that it was during the 1985 that we migrated from the 5-year BE program to the current 4-year BTech program. And we thought that we had solved many problems because of that. But I don't think it seems to have worked out that way. But if you see pre-1985, the focus was on engineering practice. Even I, as a student, remember it was all about lab work, survey work, field work, camps, and so on, designing as per codes and standards, labs, practicals, drawings. There was a rigid curriculum, no doubt, no computers, no internet. So there was more understanding. We were forced to work with scientific calculators. We understood what we were doing, the calculations that we were doing. And faculty then were mostly trained for teaching. Pedagogy was a very important aspect of teaching at that time. And faculty used to be specifically trained for teaching. Whereas if you see post-1985, I think the focus has now shifted from practice to imparting knowledge. It's all about, when we go to the class, we are always talking about phenomena and processes. And this is happening because today faculty members are trained for academic research. They come with a PhD degree. Many of them come with a post-doctoral experience. So they want to talk about their research and they want to transfer that knowledge to the students. And whether that is relevant from the viewpoint of engineering practice is something that we really need to think about. We do have a flexible curriculum, but we seem to have reduced the credits from over 220 to right now 160 to 170. We think self-learning is going to take care of the remaining part, but I really don't know whether that is happening. Everything is done using calculator and computer and laptop. Is less understanding, rote computing. We have introduced minors and honors and integrated programs, but the focus again seems to be more on knowledge, transfer of knowledge, processes, and rather than on practice. So I think today there is another boom which is happening after the IT boom in the late 90s. Today we have this boom of process of innovation and entrepreneurship, where we are required to train engineering students to go through the full life cycle of a product development, starting from identification of a societal problem to actually converting it into a commercial product. And an entrepreneur or an innovator is supposed to possess all these skills. Whereas traditional engineering education to focus on only some aspects of what is needed for the process of innovation and entrepreneurship. And today, therefore, there is a call for engineering education to look at all these aspects and see whether we can train our students in an appropriate manner so that they can become successful entrepreneurs. So this is a major challenge that is facing us. So these problems have not gone unnoticed. A lot of education research is today going on, and the number of publications on education research has grown exponentially in the recent past. And specifically, the topic of curricular and assessment has received a lot of research attention in recent times. So what is the outcome of all this education research that has happened? A lot of outcomes are there, but I will specifically focus on a few of them. The most important one being what is multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity. If you see the NEP 2020 document also, they use these words interchangeably, but new research has shown that there are very clear, unambiguous definitions for each one of them, which I will try to highlight. I will also talk about something called positivism versus constructivism, and this leads to the 5 E's model of teaching learning, and which in turn leads to the very important concept of project-based learning. So quickly, if you look at what is meant by multidisciplinarity, this is a paper which appeared in 2018 by an author called Klassen, and he identifies multidisciplinarity as an exercise which is additive in nature, where individual expertise comes together, but there's very little integration of knowledge, and therefore there is limited innovation, and we may end up with an incomplete solution or a product. Whereas an interdisciplinary approach is more interactive. There is a synthesis of expertise happening. Therefore, there is an integration of knowledge, higher innovation, and possibility of a novel, complete solution of product. Whereas transdisciplinarity is very similar to interdisciplinarity, except for 2 key issues. Participants from outside academia can also be part of the exercise, or there can be new discovery which comes through because of that. So I tried to define this using the ancient Indian parable, which is of the 6 blind men and the elephant. And as you can see in the top panel there, each of those experts is coming out with his or her own judgment of what they see or what they feel. And there is no additive knowledge happening there. And therefore, that would be a multidisciplinary exercise. On the other hand, when it becomes interdisciplinary, you see that all the 6 pieces of information are being put together, and they come out with the finding that it is an elephant, and that is an interdisciplinary exercise. And if suppose we have brought people from outside academia also into the exercise, then they may come out with new discovery and say, okay, this is a new type of element. So that is transdisciplinarity. So I thought I will use this to explain the subtle differences between what is multi, inter, and transdisciplinarity. And obviously, from the context of engineering education, our focus is on trying to bring in interdisciplinary education as much as possible. The second concept which has come out from the engineering, the education research which has happened, are these 2 concepts of positivism and constructivism. Positivism assumes that there is an objective reality, and this objective reality can be determined through scientific laws and experiments, and there is only a single path to knowledge or learning. On the other hand, constructivism assumes that yes, there may be an objective reality, but it cannot be determined. An individual creates his or own reality based on personal experiences and interactions with society, and therefore there can be multiple paths to knowledge or learning. And this can be thought of as everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. What appears as 4 to one person may appear as 3 to another person. So these abstract concepts of positivism and constructivism can be brought to the teaching learning process. And if we do that, we see that positivism focuses on the teacher being the fountainhead of knowledge, the teacher knowing everything and conveying information to the student, and the student is a passive learner who will sit and listen and copy notes and reproduce information. On the other hand, constructivism is more of a dialogue between the student and the teacher. The teacher wants to know the prior knowledge of the student, and the student wants to explain to the teacher how he or she wants to learn. So there is an active learning which is happening through a dialogue between the teacher and the student. And in my own belief, I think constructivism is what existed in olden times during the Gurukula system, and even the Dronacharya slide, which Professor Bhubaneswar Rao showed in the morning, I think was based on constructivism, where there was interaction between the two and knowledge transfer would happen because of that in a very, very effective manner. But unfortunately, when education became more rampant and the number of students started increasing in size, obviously a one-to-one dialogue is very difficult to exercise. And therefore, I think education across the world has adopted the model of positivism. But we seem to have come a full circle now. And today we realize that for more effective teaching learning to happen, we need to go back to constructivism. And positivism may not be the right way of effective learning. But the problem, if we want to go back to constructivism, is how do we handle the huge class sizes? Whether we can have a one-to-one interaction, which is almost impossible in a class of 90 to 100 students, which a teacher experiences today. So a via media approach would be by adopting a group-based approach, a constructivism approach, where rather than looking at individual students, we create students into groups, and then we try to bring in this 5Es model of teaching learning, where a problem is presented to the student. They are allowed to explore the problem, use their prior knowledge, try to gain new knowledge, and try to solve the problem, elaborate the problem, evaluate the problem, and then this is a very effective way of teaching and learning, which today is given the name project-based learning, where you have the problem being presented, the students work on the problem, they engage in independent study, they obtain new information, they learn new things, they try to find a solution, and then an evaluation is done of the solution that is found. I have personally implemented this in my own courses with students, and let me tell you, students have really enjoyed this kind of a project-based learning. In fact, I remember once or twice I have done this in my own fluid mechanics course, and at the end of the semester, almost all the students in their feedback spoke about this particular problem-based learning exercise that I had given them, and said that that was the best part of their engineering program, and they really enjoyed it. And also, this project-based learning gives rise to very, very important skill development in the students: ownership, creativity, collaboration, critical thinking. And these seem to be exactly the kind of skills that even the industry is looking for in our graduates. So the question is that project-based learning should become a part of engineering education. And if we want to go back to the engineering education goal of practice being the main motto. But the question is, can I have a project-based learning approach integrated into the entire BTech program rather than do it for individual courses? So I started doing a search on the internet, trying to explore this idea, and I was able to find a solution, which I will talk about. So at the end of this part of my presentation, I can come out with these questions which we need to answer. What should be the goal vision of engineering education? What should be the basis for designing the curriculum? How do we map the academic programs to the requirements of NEP 2020? Multiple entry exit, academic credit bank, interdisciplinarity. How to ensure relevant sustainability of our programs by attracting and retaining students? How to satisfy the changing aspirations of employers? How to leverage the benefits of the new methods of teaching and learning? And most importantly, how can we quickly bring about these changes with minimum time and minimum cost? So when I started looking for a solution for this, I came out with this approach, an international approach, which is known as the CDIO approach. I hope people in the audience have not heard of this approach. If you have, please excuse me for the repetition. Anyway, this is an approach which is an initiative which has its origins in the aerospace department of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where they initially experimented with this idea. And today, this CDIO, which stands for Conceive, Design, Implement, and Operate, is an initiative, a worldwide initiative. It provides an educational framework for producing the next generation of engineers. It is universally acceptable to all engineering programs and to all academic institutions. It has an open architecture and it is free of cost, and it can be integrated into our engineering programs quite easily. The conceive can be brought in through the lectures that we have. The design can be brought in through the tutorials, and the implement can be brought in through our laboratory work. CDIO syllabus and standards version 3 is available since 2020, and currently more than 100 institutions across the world have adopted this approach. And only yesterday I came to know that the only Indian university which has already adopted this approach is the SRM University in Chennai. They seem to have adopted this approach. So what exactly is this approach? The aim of this CDIO approach is to promote goal-oriented project-based learning, and desired learning outcomes are clearly predefined. It promotes curricular reform to include design and build projects. And there are 4 important improvements which happen. Increases active and hands-on learning. It emphasizes problem formulation and solution, thoroughly explores the underlying concepts of the tools and techniques of engineering, and proposes innovative methods for student feedback. CDIO also has an assessment process whereby both the student and the faculty can assess how well the program is going. The rationale of the goal of CDIO is very simple. It says that the job of engineers is to be able to engineer. That's it, nothing else. And therefore, if that is the goal, then graduate engineers should be able to conceive, design, implement, and operate complex value-added engineering systems in a modern team-based environment. And I think that's a fairly accurate description of the industrial setting in which our engineering graduates need to work. And in order to achieve that goal, there are 4 building blocks. The first level of blocks are the technical knowledge and reasoning, personal and professional skills, interpersonal skills, and on top of that, we do put the building block of the CDIO. Now, interestingly, the most interesting aspect of the CDIO approach, which I found, was that rather than talk in terms of subjects, the CDIO talks in terms of skills for the students. And this is the first level skill set which the CDIO talks about, where they have broken it down into 4 levels, 4 building blocks. And the first one is the disciplinary knowledge and reasoning, where we have knowledge of underlying maths and science, core knowledge of engineering, advanced engineering knowledge, and so on. Personal and professional skills and attributes, analytical reasoning, investigation, attitudes, ethics and responsibilities, interpersonal skills, teamwork, communication, and so on. And finally, the CDIO, where the additional skills are brought about. Such a discretization of the skills can go down to level 3 and level 4, so that you can dissect the skills further and further, so that those skills can then be mapped to the courses. There's an advantage in doing that, because now we can bring in the project-based learning not only for every course, but we can integrate it with the conventional BTech program. For example, on the left, I have the traditional BTech program, where we have the first year where we teach foundation courses and labs, second year core courses and electives, third year courses and electives and labs, and the fourth year the students do a major project, which is known as the capstone project. And the whole focus is that you first learn and then do your project. Whereas CDIO proposes that in the second year itself, the students choose a project which is known as the cornerstone project, and they begin to work on that in the third semester itself, which they refine in the fourth semester based on the knowledge that they got studied in the fourth semester. They further refine the same project in the third year based on the knowledge that they have gained in the courses in the third year, and finally in the fourth year they convert that cornerstone project into the capstone project. And I am very happy to tell you that this proposal which I made to NIT Rourkela was accepted, and in our 2022 curriculum, the cornerstone project is being offered as to our BTech students. So we have put it in place right now, and we hope that it is going. Of CDIO is that you need to learn and do together, and this seems to be something that even the students tend to enjoy. because they are doing a project which they continue to refine upon every year, and they use the knowledge, new knowledge that they have gained to do that. And these are the stages of CDIO, which I will skip. Just to give you an example of how we can incorporate the Cornerstone project into a conventional BTech civil engineering program. You see, this is the typical BTech civil engineering curriculum, and within this, now we can bring in the Cornerstone project, where the students take up a small project in the third semester, where here the example is that the student want to make the plans for a new town. That is the project that they have taken. And then in the next year, they learn architectural design, structural engineering, geotechnical engineering, engineering systems design, and all that knowledge they bring back into this problem that they had picked up in the third semester. And by the end of the 8th semester, they would have converted this into a true wonderful project, because they have taken an ownership for this right from the third semester, and they are working on this throughout their BTech program. So this seems to be a very attractive way of bringing in the concept of project-based learning and integrating it into the BTech program. CDIO also has career pathways which can be chosen by the student, and appropriate skill sets can be selected by the students. There are some generic skills which all students need to have, as shown on the left there. But depending upon the student's choice, if he wants to become a researcher, he selects appropriate subjects and skills for that, or a system engineer, or a device engineer, or a project engineer, or an entrepreneur. Appropriate courses and skills are taken up as electives by the students so that they can choose a particular career path. This also seems to be a very attractive option of this CDIO approach. Another advantage of the CDIO approach is, now that we are talking in terms of skill sets rather than in terms of courses, I think it becomes easier for us to formulate the exit entry option. And I think one of the questions that is vexing all of us is that after the first year, if the student wants to exit, what will the kind of employment that will be available to that student? Now, if we are not focusing on courses, but we are looking at skill sets, then I think at the end of the first year, the student will go out with some skills at least, which he may make use of to seek employment. For example, the first year certificate, he can choose 1.1 knowledge of underlying mathematics and science, and 2.1 analytical reasoning and problem solving as the skill sets, and choose the courses appropriately and check out there and try to seek employment. He can always check back in also. Same thing for a 2-year diploma or a 3-year degree or a 4-year degree, where the full skill set will be given. So my own submission to NIT Rourkela, who seem to have done a very elaborate exercise already on this aspect of multiple entry and multiple exit, my request is that can we start looking at skill sets for the students rather than looking at only the titles of the courses. The titles of the courses are important, but what kind of skills are we giving them under each of these courses? If we spend some time on that, I think we can fine tune the kind of subjects that can be taught at the first year, second year, third year, and fourth year levels. So this is another advantage that the CDIO approach offers. The last point which I wanted to make is with regard to what are known as the higher education institution clusters. And the NEP 2020 document talks about 3 preferred types of institutions: the large multidisciplinary universities, and it also briefly talks about HEI clusters of knowledge hubs, and the third option, which is the MEROs. Very little details are given in the original NEP 2020 document on these HEI clusters or knowledge hubs. Whereas school clusters attract a lot of attention in the document. For higher education clusters, not much information is forthcoming there. But it is expected that these will be large universities, multi-cross-disciplinary education. And it is hoped that institutions like NIT Rourkela, NIT Rourkela will be able to establish new departments in languages, literature, philosophy, and many of those topics which are important for a liberal education of the students. But I really doubt whether within the time frame that we have, whether we will be able to really establish these departments and make them functional. So I believe that clusters can be created, existing institutions in the neighborhood can be utilized so that we can increase the resource efficiency, both in terms of material and human resources. There are global examples of such clusters. My own research showed that these are some of the examples. The 5 colleges incorporated in the United States, the Claremont Colleges incorporated. Please note that these are all incorporated, means they're all companies which have been established. They're registered companies. The largest of them is the Alliance for Higher Education, a Texas-based consortium of 32 colleges and universities and corporations and hospitals, which have all come together for higher education. There is the International Network of Universities, INU, network of 9 universities from different continents, which has been established. And locally, I think IIT Bombay Monash have created a new model, which is Research Academy. So I thought that Rourkela can think of creating a cluster of institutions in the neighborhood, in the vicinity, which are already there, which are functioning, which have a reputation, which know their business. They have been in that area for many, many years. So I think we should exploit the expertise that is already available rather than to create new departments in these and struggle to establish these departments. For example, you can look at a medical university, a law university, agricultural university, a traditional university, arts and social sciences university, which is there in the neighborhood, and create a cluster and higher education cluster with NIT Rourkela being the fulcrum of this cluster. And I coined the word cluster working, deriving inspiration from the word networking, credit transfer for courses, both regular and open distance learning, student projects, faculty R&D projects, consultancy projects, community services, joint events, sharing of equipment and infrastructure, sharing experiences and best practices, and many, many more things can be done if we are able to create these kinds of existing institutions, well established, reputed institutions come together in a cluster. I think the students in all the institutions will benefit because of that. And I was very happy to see that the latest document, which was released by the UGC, guidelines for transforming higher education institutions into multidisciplinary institutions, does talk about the higher education clusters in more detail. There is an entire chapter devoted to these clusters which can be created, and I think UGC is promoting the creation of these clusters, and they have in fact gone as far as to come out with the governance model also. The board of directors, the structure for the board of directors has also been established by the UGC. So this is something that I think institutions like NIT Rourkela and NIT Suratgal need to exploit if we have to quickly achieve the aspirations and the requirements laid down in NEP 2020 by the year 2030. So let me summarize by saying that the NEP 2020 has come at the most opportune time for education in general in India, and in particular for engineering education, because engineering education, as I said, is currently at the crossroads. We are facing huge challenges, and I think NEP 2020 has come at the most appropriate time. We should use this opportunity to bring in as many fundamental changes in engineering education as much as possible, so that we are able to overcome the challenges that the profession is facing. The traditional approach to creating our curriculum seems to be some kind of a vision that institutions have, and then converting that into curriculum or a syllabi, and knowledge transfer seems to be the most important outcome. Whereas I think the new approach should be that we should identify proper goals for engineering education, develop appropriate skill sets that we want in our students, and then design the curriculum and syllabi based on what we want as skill sets and the goal of education. And ultimately, I think the focus should transfer and shift to professional practice for our engineering graduates. And the CDIO approach, the project-based learning, and the cornerstone project, these are some of the key changes that I personally believe can bring about the desired changes in our profession, in our engineering education system, and we can meet the mandate of NEP 2020, multiple entry exit, academic bank of credits, interdisciplinarity, learning how to learn, hands-on experience, and so on. And we need to also leverage the benefits offered by creating higher education institution clusters. So with these words, I would once again like to thank Professor Bhubaneswar Rao for giving me an opportunity to share my views here. Unfortunately, due to some personal reasons, I could not be physically present there, but I hope that some of the ideas that I have given here will prove useful in this wonderful exercise which has been taken up by NIT Rourkela. Professor Patel was mentioning in the morning that Professor Bhubaneswar Rao is driving them, has driven them into achieving this, new document implementation plan and this workshop. I would only like to tell Professor Patel, this is only the beginning of the story. Professor Rao has been there only for about 1 year. You still have 4 years of his. He's a taskmaster. He will make sure that all of you are on your toes for the next 4 years. So don't take things lightly with Professor Bhubaneswar Rao. We have seen how he works when he was here at NIT Rourkela. And personally, I know Professor Bhubaneswar Rao for more than 35 years. So let me warn all the faculty of NIT Rourkela, please wake up, be on your toes. Professor Rao is there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Sir, thank you, sir. Could you please share your screen so that we could see your full video?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Thank you, Professor Lakshman.
Yeah.
Thanks for your closing remarks.
I knew you would say that.
No, the thing is that your presentation was really very, very informative. And even the last closing sentences are also more informative for my faculty members. What they have just seen me is only 1 year. They are going to see me for the next 4 years. And we greatly missed you. We greatly we greatly missed you because let me tell for the information of all of the faculty, my faculty here at NIT Rourkela, that when I joined NIT, that means that time it was REC Suratkal. So now we were colleagues there, and then we were table tennis batchmates, or rather the team members. Regularly used to go to the club and then play, and then he's also a good cook, I'm also a good cook, and so we used to enjoy the culinary expertise of each of us. And so my association with Professor Lakshman is from 1987 on, and so now it is on there. And we wanted you to be here. Nevertheless, I'm sorry that your wife was not all that well. I hope she's recovering fast. And next time we'll get 4 more years are there for me, and then for you to really see for yourself physically how I've really trained the faculty members out here to make some of your statements come true. That is, NEP is a good opportunity. It's really an opportunity, and then it couldn't have really come at a right opportune time than what it has come now. Okay, let us all raise to the occasion and then do it. With these closing remarks, and then I would just like to really give a memento. I'm giving it to Professor Sripati, and then whatever the felicitation that we are doing, I request Professor Sripati on my behalf to do it to you there in Suratkal, and then send the photographs. You know that I'm a taskmaster. I need all the proofs.
Sure. That's great.
And
Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, NEP 2020, it has to really shed light to the higher education institutions in India and then make all our dreams come true. And then we are going to be really privileged to be the members are initiating this particular journey towards making this NEP 2020 a reality. On the behalf of NIT Rourkela, this Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, the light be given to Professor Lakshman, the NIT. So, thank you very much. I think with this, you can give the closing remarks.
So I thank Professor Lakshman Nandagiri for his time, and we are closing it for today. And tomorrow the first session will be by Professor Gautam Sutradhar in the morning at 9:30. So thank you very much.